everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Chef Hamill here. Today I'm going to be making everybody's favorite banana bread. So I don't know about you guys, but I always buy more bananas than I need, and there's always a few that tend to go bad and get overripe too quickly, as you can see right here. So I thought what better way to utilize them than to make banana bread. Now sometimes if I don't have the time to make the banana bread, what I'll do is I will peel the bananas, put them in a Ziploc bag, and put them in my freezer for a later date, and when I want to make banana bread I have them. But today I figured, why not shoot a video on how to make this easy recipe? So the recipe that I'm utilizing today is from Bon Appetit, which has a lot of really great recipes on it. And I've made this recipe a bunch of times before and I love it so much. And the great thing about banana bread is that it's very versatile and you can add a lot of additional things to it to make it really delicious. So today I'm going to be adding some fresh blueberries that I have in my fridge. I actually added these the last time I made it and it came out phenomenal. I really liked the blueberry addition because it adds little pops of tartness to the recipe, which is great. So first ingredient in the recipe is 1.5 cups of flour. And I thought I would do a little demonstration on the proper way to measure flour because there actually is a right and wrong way to measure. So anytime you measure flour, you don't want to scoop directly into the bag or directly into the bin because you are actually packing the flour in and it tends to be an incorrect measurement. So what we are going to do is we have a knife or some sort of flat tool that we are going to level off our flour with, but I'm actually going to use my other measuring cup to gently place my flour in my measuring cup. And we want to kind of gently fluff it in lightly. You don't want the flour to be packed down. And we'll put a little bit more in. And then what you want to do is take the back of a butter knife or some sort of flat tool and you want to gently level off the top. Place that in our bowl. And now we'll do the same with our 1/2 cup measuring cup using our cup as our kind of scoop here. Perfect. Gently putting that in. And using our butter knife to level it off. Perfect. So banana bread is considered a quick bread, which my students should know well if they think all the way back to October. And a quick bread just means that it's a baked good that doesn't contain yeast. So the leavening agent that we're using today is baking soda, and baking soda is considered a chemical leavening agent. So this is a dough or a batter that doesn't need to rest like a traditional yeast bread would need to. So we're going to take our baking soda and add that right into our flour along with our kosher salt. And we can kind of set this aside for now. Now what we need to do is we need to cream together our brown sugar. I have a cup of brown sugar here that is packed, and I purposely kind of left it intact so that you can see just how packed it is. The recipe calls for dark brown sugar, which I didn't have on hand, so I'm using light brown sugar. So I'm going to break that up and add that to my bowl. And we need to cream this together with 2 ounces of butter. Now, creaming pretty much just means that you are adding air or incorporating air into the mixture to create a really nice creamy consistency. And the creaming process is what makes cookies and other baked goods so delicious because it creates a really good consistency in your recipe. And the recipe calls for 1/3 cup of either mascarpone cheese, sour cream, or Greek non-fat yogurt. I happen to have a container of Chobani blueberry yogurt. So I'm going to use this instead because it's going to add a little bit of extra blueberry flavor to the recipe, which I thought was very convenient. It's also going to add a little bit of a tang, which will be really nice. So I'm going to cream these 3 ingredients together with a handheld mixer, which I have right here. And we want the final product to be really nice and creamy, which means that you must start with room temperature butter. If you used cold butter right out of the fridge, it's not going to work for you. So this looks good. And as you can see, the mixture is a lot lighter in color, which will happen as the air incorporates into the mixture, and it's a lot fluffier than it originally was. So at this point now, we need to incorporate our 2 eggs, 1 at a time. Sometimes it takes a while for eggs to incorporate into a mixture, which is why we always add them 1 at a time. So I'm gonna plop an egg in there. I'm gonna mix with my mixer, and then I'm going to add the additional egg. Great. So at this point now, I'm going to slowly add my flour mixture a little bit at a time. I'm actually just gonna mix the salt and the baking soda in. Now this, of course, you want to add a little bit at a time so that you don't get covered in flour. It's not something to be rushed. This is also an important step in that you don't want to overmix this too much. The more you agitate or the more you move around the flour, you're going to develop gluten in the flour, and that is going to make a tougher consistency. We want a really soft banana bread and a soft texture. So you want to mix this as least amount as possible. Don't want to mix it anymore. So So now I need to mash my 2 bananas. The recipe actually calls for 4. I'm gonna see what it looks like after 2. And I have a third if I'd like to add a third. So the more banana ripens, as I'm sure a lot of you know, the sweeter it gets. So these are gonna be really sweet because as you can see, they're very brown. Of course I can't even, there we go. These are very messy. All right. Alrighty, so I have a masher here. I'm just going to give these a nice mash until it is completely broken up. Good. Now we're going to add this into our batter. And we're going to try to incorporate it as gently as possible. Again, we don't want to overmix and develop that gluten in our recipe. And at this point too, we're also going to add in our, baking is messy. We are going to add in 3/4 a cup of blueberries. You can add more if you want more. You can add less if you want less, or if you didn't want to use blueberries at all, you could use walnuts, you could use pecans, almonds, chocolate chips, whatever you have on hand. And I'm actually going to add a few more blueberries on top of the bread when we are done. So this looks pretty good to me. I'm not going to add that additional banana because I want to eat my additional banana tomorrow with my breakfast. So I'm just going to go with 2, which will be plenty. So you can either use a loaf pan to make this recipe. You could use muffin pans if you want. Depends on which shape you're going to make. I'm actually going to do a combination of both. So I have some mini loaf pans here, which I love because they cook a lot quicker than traditional large loaf pans. And I also have this really adorable mini muffin pan. And I'm gonna make some mini muffins just as kind of like a little bite that I could have when I'm feeling something sweet, you know? So I don't know how many I'm gonna make, but I'll start with say 10, and I'll see where that leaves me. So I have a portion scoop. If you didn't have a portion scoop at home, you could just use like a tablespoon or so. I'm gonna add a little bit of batter into each of these mini muffin pans. This is a great little like snack. I know me personally, I'm always looking for a little something sweet, especially after dinner or I don't know, just during the day. And this is like the perfect little bite where I could just have like 1 or 2 and then I'm okay. I know not everybody has that willpower, but I'm actually gonna make quite a few muffins because there's quite a bit of batter here. Make sure you spray these really well because I don't have paper liners with me. But any non-stick pan with non-stick spray should be fine. think that's good. And the rest I'm going to make into loaves. So put this over here. Now with these loaf pans, I like to line them with a little bit of parchment paper in addition to the spray because it makes it really easy to lift the loaf out after it's done cooking. Totally optional, but I really like doing that. It makes it a lot easier. It also makes cleanup a little bit easier as well. So I spray my pan and I add just enough parchment paper to line the bottom and the sides, and I just like to have a little bit sticking up so that I can easily pull the loaf out when I'm done. So for this, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it because these are just for me. You want to fill them up about halfway or so. Depends on how thick you want to make them. So one. I also like to do them in smaller sizes also because they cook a lot quicker. A traditional loaf pan takes forever to cook. And not that I have anywhere to be today, but it's just easier if I get them done in smaller sizes. You could also freeze these if you wanted, if you didn't want to eat them all today, or eat them all this week, I should say. Because it does kind of make a decent amount of batter. Let me see if I can get a third. Parchment paper. So make sure you use a rubber spatula to scrape out every bit of the batter. It is one of my pet peeves when batter is left behind, because that could easily be another cookie, another muffin, another bite of banana bread. And this guy's a little sad, so I'm gonna add a little bit of this batter to him. Try to even it out a little. Take a little from this one too. That looks good. They're about even. Not perfect, but close enough. I'm going to add some additional blueberries to the top. And I also have some sugar in the raw, which I'm just going to sprinkle a tiny bit on top. You don't have to, it's optional. I just like the little bit of crunch that it gives the bread. If you had regular sugar, you could use regular sugar, or even a little bit of brown sugar. So these loaves are probably going to cook for about 20 minutes or so. The muffins probably maybe about 10 minutes, give or take. And when they are done out of the oven, I will let you know how they came out. Hey guys, welcome back. So these are the finished product. They came out so beautiful. Our little muffins came out great. They look so good. So one thing I just wanted to mention before I'm done is that make sure that anytime you bake muffins or loaves, cupcakes, cakes, anything, that you have some sort of rack to put them on, a cooling rack. And you want them to completely cool before you remove them from the pan, because that's when they're going to stick. if you try to take them out while they're still hot. So that is about it. If you have any questions for me about this recipe, please comment them below and I will put the recipe in the description. Thank you so much for watching and happy baking.